A horse that responds to invisible aids and thoughts, isn't that what we all dream of? A horse with which everything looks so easy and effortless that outsiders say, well, that's just an extremely easy horse. I could do that too. The good news is every one of us can have such a horse, but it will not miraculously happen by itself. We will have to need to work on ourselves a lot. Because what people notice when they say a horse is so easy or rideable and that it never spooks or resists or that it's super brave or whatever, is of course not something that horse has always been or just naturally is. It is mostly the result of a long path of consistent work filled with calmness and patience, setbacks, daily exercises in own fitness and coordination, perseverance, intelligent decisions, and deep understanding of the horse. In this series, I want to show you how I personally approach exactly that. From my childhood and youth, I was fortunate to carry with me many pieces of advice, experiences, and guiding principles. And here's the most important one to start with. The horse never makes the mistakes. Put it differently, every undesired behavior, every blockage, every illness, every injury has a cause. In my experience, that cause is very, very often found in the saddle or at the other end of the lead rope. Not always simply because of a lack of ability or clarity, often because knowledge was taught incorrectly. The only thing every rider knows for sure is this: a horse that goes into fight or flight mode can become life-threatening to itself, its rider, and everyone around. And that is exactly what leads many riders to develop a very, very strong need for control. Sadly, this often results in the use of painful and harmful methods and equipment. Is control important? Of course. But for me, control comes only in two ways. First, through the rider's control of themselves, as the horse only reacts to everything we think, feel, and do. And second, through mutual trust. No matter what I want to do with a horse, for me, the one absolute and unshakable foundation for everything is that the horse trusts me. And that can only happen if I ensure that it actually can trust me. The horse must be absolutely certain that nothing bad will happen to it in my presence. That, of course, is only possible if I cause it no pain or force or coercion. It is of the greatest importance that we meet the horse with trust and open kindness. Do we need to be consistent and clear? Absolutely. Do we need to inflict violence, pain, or force? Absolutely not. On the contrary, when pain and force are used repeatedly, a horse has only two options. Either it begins to fight back and becomes resistant, or it shuts down and simply endures. The number of horses broken by humans and then punished for defending themselves is immeasurable. And the number of horses that have simply given up and silently endure is heartbreakingly even higher. So here's my advice. Always remember that horses are not malicious. Spoiled or ruined by people? Yes, sadly far too often. But they never are evil by nature. Horses are also the clearest mirrors we humans can encounter. They know things about us that we are not aware of ourselves. And they react, as I said, to everything we think, feel, and do. Never forget that. To punish them in any way for our own lack of clarity, body control, or kindness is just deeply unjust. So how do I personally put trust and kind control into practice? I start with working on the resilience, courage, and confidence of my horses. None of the horses in my life started out easy. On the contrary, most came to me at 4 years or older, already over the edge, carrying not the best experiences with them, which makes building trust so much harder than with a horse without such baggage. I can illustrate this a bit with my horse Polar Bear. When he came to me 2 years ago at 4 years old and already ridden, he was terrified of tractors, any loud noises, machines, wild animals, birds, moving objects, puddles, water in general, oncoming horses, ponies, really actually everything. Leading him anywhere was dangerous because in blind panic he would simply run over anything in his way, and he's not exactly a midget. He also panicked if anything moved on his back or above him. I found this out the first time I tried to ride him when I suddenly found myself on 650 kilos of tightly wound muscle, exploding in blind terror. But I will tell you more about that in the next part, where I'll talk about rein-independent riding. So, how did a panicky, fearful animal turn into a horse admired for his calmness? Why is Polar Bear today a horse that doesn't even flinch when a huge machine roars right in front of him? How did I transform fear into confidence and composure? Exactly the way I've done it with all my horses in the beginning. I went for walks with him. For weeks, I did nothing but groom him, find his favorite scratching spots, tell him stories, and walk hundreds of kilometers. An ordinary halter and a lead rope out in nature, through puddles, past flapping tarps, tractors, harvesters, cows, with pheasants and hares and deer jumping out of the hedges. Whenever he was afraid, I just simply stood calmly, let him look in peace, scratched his favorite spot, told him stories, how he was stronger than the rabbit and that the rabbit was more afraid of him than he was of the rabbit, stuff like that. I used every tractor, every harvester, every cow, every galloping herd of horses, every sprinkler as an opportunity to show him that nothing bad will happen. In the beginning, because he tended to spiral into panic, I also always had carrots with me. Why? Because a horse that is eating cannot be in fight or flight mode at the same time. It's pretty simple. The key is to offer the carrot before the panic escalates. You can feel when a horse begins to tense up, and that's the right moment. Stay calm and relaxed and offer a carrot. Why a carrot and not a treat? Because it takes longer to chew, which means fewer stress hormones enter the bloodstream and the brain. Also very simple. For these walks, I deliberately use a normal halter, not a rope halter, not a bridle, not a cavesson. I want no pain signals, no coercion, no negative stimuli. The goal is for the horse to face challenges on a loose lead rope. I want a confident, brave horse, not one that obeys out of fear. If a real emergency arises and I can't hold the horse otherwise, I can quickly loop the rope over the nose for more control and release it right away once the situation is resolved. These walks are, for me, the absolute foundation of everything, and I continue to do them now and then, even later. They build trust, confidence, courage, and connection between human and horse. They let the human, if calm, clear, and competent, become a reliable leader in whose presence the horse feels safe. This wandering together through nature, the impressions, the steady rhythm of walking, the relaxation it creates on both sides of the lead rope, is a basic, irreplaceable foundation for all further work. And the bond, friendship, and trust built this way cannot be replaced by anything else. It is also a success and a vital step in my trust in the horse when, after a few walks together, it suddenly stays calm in situations that before sent it into blind panic. That's when the feeling arises the horse also gives us security, not only the other way around. And that, to me, is the indispensable foundation for all further work with a horse. It is also the only basis on which a horse can be ridden without risking physical harm. Why? Because a horse can only be supple and relaxed if it is not afraid. The moment it is stressed, whether from fear, pain, force, or being overwhelmed, muscles will automatically tighten, and those muscles are precisely the ones that must not be tense if we want to prevent injury on the saddle. But I'll explain that in detail in future parts. For now, I wish you great joy in starting your own walks together. And in the next episode, I'll explain why rein-independent riding is so very important to me and how I personally begin with it. Until then, all the best to you and your horses.